Canada with me, Navedna Prabhu. During these unprecedented times, we all have a lot of questions about immigration in Canada, of course. But who better to answer these questions than an expert? Manpreet Kaur Joshi joining us from British Columbia. She is the director, of course, of CI Immigration. Manpreet, thank you so much for coming back on the show. Always a pleasure having you on our show.
Well, thank you again for inviting me. It's great talking to you. It even expands my knowledge. So great. I love this.
Okay, that's the first I've heard, but thank you so much. Manpreet, we're of course talking about, like I said, there is a lot of doubt in terms of immigration, and the largest, I think, sector which, first of all, before I continue, congratulations, because the last time we spoke, you said be patient about FSW, and a draw happened the very next day.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people will be banking on you now to make other predictions. But that aside, we're of course talking about one sector, like we spoke last time as well, the international students aspect. And after we spoke, there was this update from the IRCC side, which means that the government is aware of the impact that COVID-19 has had on potential international students. So let's first get into that. What are the major changes that we're looking at for international students?
So first of all, they've introduced this very interesting two-stage approval process.
Yeah.
Actually, honestly, I've been thinking on it since they've started this in March, that a lot of students can study online. They've introduced this online program, which could be counted towards their time towards PGWP after studies. Since then, I've been thinking that why are they not doing this? Just give an in-principle approval before the final approval, so that students who has their applications in process or who are looking to apply now can also join the ones who had approvals before that date of March, who are studying online. So this is a great initiative. This is very smart by IRCC, I would say. So that way, universities and colleges in Canada are still getting students. They're still rolling the businesses, and students on the other side are also, continuing their studies, because, for an example, a student who has graduated from a bachelor's degree a year ago, maybe already wasted few months doing English exam and stuff. Now, if they have to wait more to apply for a study permit, then it will be counted as a gap, which is not good for their student application. So this two-tier process, this two-stage process, I would say, is very great. Students who cannot give biometrics, who cannot give medical exams, police clearance based on which part of world they're from, they can still apply. Okay, as long as they have LOA, the offer letter, the unconditional offer letter and stuff like that, and they meet the other requirements apart from the one I just discussed, funds requirement and everything. They can get in principle stage 1 approval, which will.
The first part is, if we were to break it down, the first step is eligibility and the second one is admissibility.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the first part is to get an unconditional offer letter.
Yes. So they should pay the fee, they should have the funds back up, they should meet the English requirements. The best way to word it is, try to finish your application as much as you can. Okay. Just leave whatever is out of your hands. So they will still consider, and they will give you in principle approval. And also, as I said, try to complete as much as you can.
Yeah.
In addition, you're meeting those 3-4 requirements that I just mentioned.
Right.
So you cannot ignore that part.
So what is step 2 in terms of eligibility? Is it what you said in terms of biometrics?
They're going to check if you're admissible to Canada on medical grounds, on security grounds, all those things. So they come.
So now there's there's something that the Canadian government cannot, of course, control, is the biometrics aspect of it. In fact, even within Canada, the biometric centers have not opened for several people who are trying to apply for various permits. So how does it work now? Let's say, for example, I'm someone from outside Canada trying to apply, and I've done the first stage, like you said, to get an unconditional offer letter, meet the language requirements, and have proof of funds, in which most cases for international students is GIC for certain
Yes.
designated countries. So what happens now if I'm unable to do my biometrics? Do I still go ahead and submit
Yes,
my
yes,
application for
that's
study
what
permit?
it exactly means. So you have to explain in a letter because this is a quite new change. This is just it is like, as Canada has always been, immigrant friendly country, they always introduce these public policies, and
Right.
considering this very unfortunate time for the world, they have introduced this, but you have to explain. Since
Okay.
it's a new program, you have to explain that I'm, based on these new regulations that has been introduced by IRCC. So
Yeah.
I'm he or she is applying their application and consider it, and I will do biometrics as soon as the VFS and opens in our area, or the doctors start to take the medicals. We'll do all that and we'll submit it.
Right.
They'll still get in principle approval within the time frame of the processing times.
Okay.
And after that, they can begin their online program, same way that the students are already doing. And another thing is IRCC has started processing online applications for students who has already submitted it. So
Okay.
they will also follow the same thing for them. If they feel that they have met the requirements of stage 1, they'll get an in-person approval. Sorry,
Okay.
in principle approval, I should
In
word it.
principle
In
approval.
principle approval, and then they can start studying from overseas. This is a great news. That's what I personally feel.
Right. So, talking about the other aspect of this is one of the other things that IRCC had mentioned, which is a couple of months ago, was the date of March 18th, and for people who will be allowed into the country based on this March 18th date, on or before. So, for students who were approved before March 18th, are they considered essential travel if they have their letter of acceptance from their colleges?
Again, this question does not have a straightforward yes or no answer. Reason
Okay.
is it has many conditions. Which country student is coming from? Are there
Right.
any flights, or do we have a complete border closure with that country? So that is the first question comes.
Right.
It it could be an essential travel in certain circumstances, and then they have to go through this quarantine period that they can 14 days and everything. Lots of schools are even emailing us, that even they were emailing in April, that how these students can travel and
Right.
how these students can follow the policies of self-isolation when they come to Canada, everything, which means that yes, this is an option, but it might not be an option for each
For
and every
everyone. So it's
that's
really
why they
subjective.
yes, that's why they have this online program.
Right.
Uh,
So that was going to be, yeah, my
yeah,
next question was so the next bet or the next probably step for everyone is to continue studying from their countries. How do you look at it as an immigration consultant? Do you think that it's great to still have that Canadian education experience with staying in the safety of their homes, looking at the entire process, and also a little bit about, is this an advantage for students right now, because this has never happened before, that the
yeah,
time towards the application counts towards your PGWP.
yeah.
So could you shed light on both of these aspects?
Each and every policy, each and every situation that comes has a pros and cons. So of course, there is this drawback that they miss the Canadian environment, they miss the Canadian culture. As far as I talk about the school culture in Canada, they're not missing on it, because even the students who are in Canada, they're not going to the school. They're studying online.
Yeah.
But of course, they're in the Canadian culture. They might be working part-time, already gaining some Canadian experience, that will help in their resume big time once they have PGWP.
True.
And also, and also there is this little bit of threat in your head and heart, I would say, when you have these plans that I'll go to Canada one day. You have visa, you are studying, but still, who knows what if I don't meet this requirement and they would cancel it. This is not going to happen. I mean, but still, until and unless you travel, you still have this little bit of emotional thing going on inside, that what if this happens, since I'm not in Canada yet.
Correct. Yeah.
But the positive factor of it is, a lot of students in the initial stage of their programs, when they come, they have this new way of studying in Canada. They have this new type of programs, new type of courses, bit of a language barrier. So they go through a lot. And at the same time, the survival thing, they need to earn, they need to rent an apartment. There is no mom to cook. So you're getting all these benefits. Mom says, just, sit back and study your Canadian, and I'm here to back up you. So that's a big benefit, I think.
A lot of students had this doubt, which I'm pretty sure you would say that again, that's subjective, but I still want to put it out there. Like, there are certain courses where being in person itself would benefit the program.
Yes.
Maybe because the practical component is, in it. But like you stated that even in Canada, universities haven't opened for in-class.
Yes.
So how would you look at that? Would you say defer your intake, like as in the season that you're choosing? Let's say like maybe not fall.
Mm-hmm.
Would you suggest looking at a Jan or a winter intake, or maybe the next year? I mean, it is a bit of a disappointment, but how do you look at it in a very practical way for these students?
First of all, each and every university and college in Canada, they're very well maintained. They have very highly qualified staff. So I'm pretty sure they're putting the policies in place where they can, put as much as practical component, even while teaching online. Like they'll, I'm pretty sure they're not gonna miss the entire aspect of a program.
Right.
And at the same time, if they would feel that this program has no, or this course of study or this particular subject has no value if you study online, I'm pretty sure they'll find out a way out. Like they can say, okay, we're going to take it in the last semester versus in the second semester, because this is not going to help. So I'm more or less confident on that part.
Right.
We need to just trust the professionals, the educational professionals, the professionals who are into the academics, who are doing these plannings. We need to just trust them in that part.
Right. So you're saying that universities are flexible, and you're hoping that students also try and be as flexible with the present situation. Now, the other part has, now we've covered the international students who haven't come into Canada as yet. The other sector is for the ones who are running out of status being in Canada. So there was another update for them as well, which is the restoration part.
Yes.
So can you talk to us about that? What does this mean, and how does this really help?
So, for an example, there is a student whose study permit extension was refused, for an example, in May or in June, because they weren't able to provide that they've requested additional documents and they weren't able to get from the university since it was closed and all.
Right.
Then they get only 90 days after that usually to get it restored. Now they have until December, so they have extended the time to restore. But restoration is a very sensitive application again. For example, if you are a student, you cannot restore back to a visitor or to a worker or something else. You have to restore as a student. So that
whatever your previous status was, you're basically just restoring that. So in terms of workers, right? Now, how does that differ? Like, a lot of people who are on a PGWP and they're facing this issue where the number of hours towards CAC is not applying, maybe because they've been laid off. So how does that work? Because PGWP, like we understand from the conversation we've had before, is not extendable.
Yeah.
So what happens for them? Because one of the criteria of restoration is because they understand that the flights have been shut or travel cannot happen, which is why they came up with this. So I'm pretty sure the LMI aspect comes into it again, but
yes.
How does it work for them?
Yeah, so as you said, LMIA, or if they're getting married to a Canadian and they're eligible for this open work permit. So these kind of work permits they can search for, but remember they have this 90 days to restore, which means they have only 90 days to search for a new job which can apply LMIA. But now they have this until December to search for they've extended time to search for a new job, in which they can apply. Again, they need to be honest to IRCC. They need to try their best, try not to, misuse this policy. Okay, let's sit until the end of this, and then you're not making any effort of finding a new job or something. Another factor is a lot of employers are looking to do LMIAs, but they're just saying, okay, please just wait 2 more months. Let me rehire my workers once I'm back to business. That way I'm not saying that I have 15 people laid off. That's an adverse effect on LMIA, right?
Right.
They're just waiting for the business to pick up where they can really have a need of a foreign worker. That means, for an example, if my work permit has expired today and I was on PGWP, and I have only 90 days and my employer is saying they will apply after 90 days after rehiring everybody. So I'm losing the opportunity. Versus in this case, after 90 days when my employer applies, okay, I can submit a work permit application right away stating that here is the LMIA number. I'm restoring it back to LMIA work permit.
Right.
I cannot provide all the documents right now due to COVID because LMIA is taking a bit longer and it took us to apply with all the explanations.
Right.
And this is a very, very, very new policies, and I would say a very unique in Canadian history of immigration.
Right.
It's very hard to comment the practical components of how this will be implemented until we process few applications.
Right.
So that's why there is going to be a bit of a gray area what I'm talking here and what
Yeah, because I think, like you've always stated before, that every application is different and subjective. Yes. So there's not much that you can say generally.
Yes.
Especially when this policy is new, right? I mean, the old ways of saying it was very different, but every day there's something new. So to sum it up, what would you say? What is the next step for potential international students and for the people inside Canada? What are you going to tell them?
I would tell that, of course, you could get yourself educated online, but at the same time, try to talk to somebody in detail about your particular scenario. Okay. If you're abroad, if you are looking to still apply for an LOA, if you're unsure which program you should take, which has mostly online components, which is good to study online, which program is, as you mentioned, not good to study online. So if you still haven't chosen a program of study, that could be an option. You could discuss it upfront and decide that what are your plans are. And foreign workers and students and visitors who are in Canada, we encourage them to be, to maintain their legal status.
Right.
It's much easier for the visitors because they don't need the job offer or anything.
Yeah.
Once you feel that you're out of status, if you cannot extend it, you can still restore back to your previous status. So try to find out. Just do not just assume things that, oh, this is not going to happen, or let's not look for a flight. I'm now good until December. No, it's each and every criteria is different. I have clients, who were out of status, who are actively looking for flights. We send them follow-up emails to make sure they're looking for flights. We have tried to submit the possible applications for them with explanations. Some clients we have to just say that's okay, you can still look for an employer, we can wait a month to apply LMIA. So each and every scenario is different.
Yeah. So, okay, so great. So to sum it up, you would say for people outside of Canada, continue looking for courses that definitely would benefit them in terms of their educational qualifications. Yes. Because later down the line, when you are allowed to come to Canada, finding a job would, also be an advantage because you're still getting a Canadian degree at the end of the day. And when things get...
job market and everybody is not unaware of the situation. They'll not say, hey, this guy studied online, so I'm not going to interview this studied in person. They know that this was out of everybody's hand, and most likely everybody who's going to graduate at that time, they would have studied online. So they all fall into the same basket. There will be competition, but in the same basket. So there wouldn't be any students who had high practical knowledge versus others had a very less practical, mostly online. They all would graduate at the same time. They all would find jobs at the same time, and they all would compete in the same basket of online studies.
Right. So this is for the people who are outside, but like you said, and like you always state, for the ones inside Canada, just ensure that you maintain your legal status and find someone who is, of course, a professional in doing so. So for everybody out there who is wondering, how you can reach out, always definitely look for a professional, and who better than Manpreet to reach out to find out what your application looks like, what you qualify for, what are your other options, because always remember that getting a professional in such a time is always helpful, because you might not be aware of what are your other options like, and that's where a professional will step in. So Manpreet, thank you so much once again. It was a pleasure having you on the show, and we hope to talk to you soon once again.
For sure. Thank you, for having me here.
Thank you so much. Bye.